Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Are you all able to hear me? Yes, is everyone able to hear me? And is the screen visible?
Yes, miss.
All right, so we're looking into year 2023 winter paper 2. The first question here is part of a cooling curve for water is shown to you. What is occurring between points X and Y? Mention your answers in the chat box. This is a cooling curve. If you see that cooling curves they tend to be like this. Okay. Whereas heating curves, they tend to be like this in an ascending manner. Okay. And in a descending manner, that is a cooling curve. This means that the gases they are being converted into liquids, and then the liquids are then undergoing melting, and they're undergoing condensation, and then lastly freezing, and then they're going to be converted into solids. So the state changes basically in this plateau phase. So the state change is taking place here. And this is only part of the cooling curve. This is not your complete cooling curve. So at this point, this liquid is undergoing the process of freezing to be converted into a solid. So your answer must be, is it A, B, C, or D? Steam is condensing into water? No. We said that at 0 degrees Celsius. This is freezing which is taking place. And then there is no steam. Okay, why? Because before freezing, if you look into, this is basically liquid. So it's already liquid. It's water which is being converting into ice, and the phase which is going to be undergone is freezing. The temperature of water is decreasing. No. Ice is melting. No, ice is also not melting. This is again incorrect. Lastly, you have particles which are losing heat to the surroundings. Yes, particles do need to lose heat to the surroundings to when they're going to lose heat. When they are going to lose heat, they are going to strengthen their intermolecular energy. Okay. Do you see that the temperature of water is decreasing? They're talking about the between the points X and Y. Do you see that the temperature of water is decreasing? Yes, Zoya. Okay. So you have to look into the words very carefully. You have to look into the context of the question very carefully. This is only part of the cooling curve. This is not your complete cooling curve. Okay. And they're talking about what is taking place between these two specific points between X and Y. So we have said that between whenever you have a horizontal plateau phase in a cooling curve or a heating curve, changes in state take place. Okay, changes in state take place. So the physical state is being converted. All right, and what is being converted here? This is already a liquid, and at 0, the liquid is going to turn to ice, and it is obviously liquid water that we're talking about. Water is converting into ice. So the correct answer in this case scenario is going to be particles. They are going to lose heat to the surroundings. Moving on to the next question, which statements about clean, dry air are correct? It is a mixture of elements only, a mixture of compounds and elements, or it contains only non-metals. Is it A, B, C, or D? Mention your answer in the chat box. Okay, we've got answers. So C, yes, C is the right answer. Good. That is it is a mixture of elements. You also have compounds. Um, you have argon, you have nitrogen, you have oxygen, you also have carbon dioxide, you have water vapors, okay? And it only contains non-metals and nothing else, okay? So C is the right answer choice. Moving on to the next question, the representation of an atom is shown to you. What is the nucleon number of this atom? The nucleon number refers to the mass number. It is any subatomic particle present within the nucleus of the atom, which is the central core. This is your nucleus. So you're going to count all of these and then find out your final answer. 13. 13 is the right answer. Okay. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 protons and 7 neutrons. All right. 7 shaded balls and 6 protons. So D here is the correct answer. Moving on to the next one. The percentage abundances of three isotopes in a sample of neon are shown. What is the relative atomic mass, which is AR, of this sample of neon? So relative atomic mass is multiplying the percentage isotopic percentage abundances with their mass numbers, summing them up, and then dividing them by 100. Uh, Wait a minute. Okay, Ayan is saying B, and Basit, you are saying C. Why, Basit? Why have you calculated it? So you're going to multiply 90.48 times 20 plus 0.27 times 21. Can anyone tell me a much shorter way to quickly solve this MCQ within a minute, or maybe less than 30 seconds? You only have 45 minutes in the whole paper. So we have to manage time. We also have to look into that. This is going to be a relative time. Yes. Anybody wants to speak up?
Miss, can we use periodic table to give the answer?
No, no. Isotopic abundances are given to you, no? So you cannot use periodic table. B is the right answer. Just give me a minute. Okay, yes, Basit. Did you calculate?
Yes, Miss.
So what is the final answer?
B.
B. So let's suppose you are looking into this question, and this is the exact same question which comes up in front of you. So the you already know that options A and B, they have to be eliminated. They cannot at all be your correct answer choice. Why? Because you know that the isotopic abundances, they are going to come nearer to, if you average them out, they are going to come nearer to 20. All right. So this means that A, which is 10, and D, which is 30.19, this is completely incorrect. Now, the percentage abundance basically tells you that this neon 20 atoms, they are they have a percentage of 90.48 on the planet Earth. Okay. So they exist as 90.48%, right? Which is the greatest percentage as compared to neon 21 as well, and as compared to neon 22 as well. Which means that the relative atomic mass is going to lie nearer to which one? 20. Okay. It is not going to lie nearer to 20 as compared to any other mass numbers, that is 21 or 20, which means your answer should be B. But you can also cross check it by doing the formula thing. And this is the quickest method to use and find your final answer. All right. However, this method should be cross checked once, let's suppose you don't have the other option to be 21. Let's suppose the other option that you have is 20. One is 20.19, and the other option that you have is maybe 20. 20.23. Okay, so then you will have to cross check it by using your relative atomic mass formula. Okay, moving on to the next question. Potassium reacts with iodine to form potassium iodide. What statement about potassium iodide is correct? Is it going to share a pair of electrons, or is in potassium iodide the particles of potassium, they have more protons than electrons? Or do you think that it is going to have a high melting point since it is a covalent compound, or a low melting point because it is an ionic compound? You have to look into both of the phrases. It is not obviously going to share a pair of electrons because this is a metal and iodine is a non-metal. And between metal and non-metals, we have ionic bonding. So between metals and non-metals, we have ionic bonding. So whenever there is ionic bonding, this means that there is no sharing of electrons. There is basically there is a transfer of electrons, right? So potassium is going to transfer its electron to iodine, and as a result of which both of them, they're going to ionize, right? Then they say that, so this is absolutely incorrect. A is not correct. Then if you look into the next statement, the particles of potassium, they have more protons than electrons. Yes, it is going to lose an electron. If it is going to lose an electron, obviously it would again have more protons. So B can be the right statement. The next one says it has high melting point. Yes, it does have high melting point, but because of being an ionic compound, not because of being a covalent compound. It is not a covalent compound. So the second phrase here is absolutely incorrect. So we're going to eliminate C as well, A as well, and the last option D, which is low melting point, is absolutely incorrect. It is an ionic compound, but not with a low melting point. Are we clear? By far, B is the right answer. Yes, good, Zoya and I am. All right, moving on to the next question. Which substance has the lowest melting point? Graphite is a macromolecular substance. It cannot have a lowest melting point. It will have higher melting points. Silicon 4 same goes with silicon 4 oxide. Lastly, you have B, which is sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is again an ionic substance. Ionic substances, they also have giant ionic lattices having greater melting points. So B, which is a simple covalent structure, a simple molecular covalent structure. So methanol is the right answer here. Look into the next question. The structure shows a molecule of ethyl ethanoate. So this means what is the molecular formula of the molecule of ethyl ethanoate? What is the molecular formula? You simply have to add in all the number of atoms which are represented within the whole molecule. Which elements do you have? You have carbon, you have hydrogen, you have oxygen. Now you're going to count them all. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. Okay. And how many hydrogens do we have? We have 2 oxygens and 3, 4, 7, 8. A total of 8 hydrogens. So the actual representation of this is going to be your molecular formula, which is C4H8O. The next one is a hydrocarbon contains 85.7% of carbon by mass. What is the empirical formula of the hydrocarbon? Now, whenever such a question comes up, a hydrocarbon basically has carbon and it also has hydrogen atoms. Now, they've only told you the percentage by mass of carbon. They didn't tell you the percentage by mass of hydrogen. What are you going to do in this case scenario? You're going to subtract it by 100. 100 minus 85.7 is going to give you the percentage by mass of hydrogen which is present within this particular compound or this hydrocarbon. After you got your percentage by mass of hydrogen, what is it? 100 minus 85.7. Yes, what is 100 minus 85.7? 14.3. So you're going to divide them by their respective, this is hydrogen, this is carbon. So carbon is 85.7. The rest of it is hydrogen's percentage by mass, which is 14.3. Divide by them by their relative atomic masses, so 12 and 1. This gives you 14.3 and 85.7 divided by 12, 7.14, and this is 14.3. So for the smallest number out of these two is 7.14. We're going to divide them both by 7.14, which is 2 and 1. So hydrogen is 2, carbon is 1, and you cannot further simplify it down. So this is the simplest whole number ratio, which is 1 to 2. So CH2, which is A, is the right answer. Okay. Moving on to the next question. The next one says the formula of a compound containing X. Element X is Na2X2O3. The relative formula mass of this compound is 158. What is the atomic mass of X? So you have to take out, subtract all the relative masses of atomic masses of sodium atoms and oxygen atoms to find out from 158 to find out the relative atomic mass of X. Tell me your final answer. Is it A, B, C, or D? Ayan, are you saying C for this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what did you do?
Ma'am, I subtracted 158 minus 2 multiplied by 23, which is the relative formula mass of sodium, and minus
Atomic
3
mass.
multiplied by, sorry, atomic mass, minus 3 multiplied by 16, which is atomic mass of oxygen.
And then
And then
158
I got,
minus 94. You got 158 minus 94. What did you get? 64.
64. Yes.
So how many atoms of X do you have?
2.
2. So you have to divide it by 2 because we want to
Oh,
find out the relative
yes.
atomic mass of X only, right? So what is
Okay,
it?
okay. A.
A,
32.
30. Yes, 32 is
Okay.
the right answer. All right. Moving on to the next one. Dilute aqueous potassium chloride is electrolyzed using platinum electrode. Did everyone get the same answer for the last one? For the last question, question 9. Okay, the next question says you have dilute aqueous potassium chloride, which is electrolyzed using platinum electrodes. Platinum electrodes, they are inert electrodes, and reactive electrodes will not take part in the process of electrolysis. Which row identifies the product at each electrode? So you have dilute aqueous potassium chloride, which means you have potassium, you have chloride ions, you have hydrogen ions, and hydroxide ions. So if you have hydrogen ions and it is less reactive, which means that hydrogen will be produced at the cathode, which is going to eliminate option choices B and D. Okay. Next, you have chloride ions and hydroxide ions. If this is a dilute aqueous solution, this means that oxygen will be produced rather than chlorine. Okay. So only if you have a concentrated halide solution, then only the halide is produced. Otherwise, if you have any other anions and hydroxide ions are present, then oxygen is produced. So C is going to be your correct option choice here. The next question says concentrated aqueous copper to chloride is electrolyzed using copper electrodes as shown. What happens to the mass of each electrode during this process? So if you remember, positive anode, okay, so this is your anode. Just first mention which one's which. This is your cathode. So positive anode, negative is cathode. Now, at the positive anode, if you remember, it starts to dissolve, right? It is going to start to dissolve. It is going to get thinner, which means the positive electrode is going to lose its mass. Its mass is going to decrease. And the negative electrode, its mass is going to increase as all the copper ions will be deposited onto the negative cathode, as a result of which this is going to get thicker and thicker. So this means that question 11, you're going to go with option choice B. All right. Yes, B is the right answer. Yes, I am.
Ma'am, the copper electrodes, they themselves will also like form into ions and be collected at the negative electrode, right?
Yeah, the copper electrodes, the
The copper
copper,
electrodes.
they are going to form, they're going to ionize. So copper metal basically turns to copper 2 plus ions and they lose their
Okay.
electrons. Okay. When the
Okay.
rate at which they are being produced, the rate of production of copper 2 plus ions and the rate of deposition of the copper 2 plus ions onto the negative cathode is exactly the same, which means that the concentration of the copper 2 plus ion within the electrolyte does not change. Okay. So the rate at which
Hmm.
the positive electrode is losing its mass and the rate at which the negative electrode is gaining its mass is exactly the same. And
Okay.
this also means that the concentration of the copper 2 plus ion does not change within the electrolyte, which means that the color, the blue color remains same. Neither it is going to get darkened or nor it is going to fade away.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Moving on to the next question. The initial and the final temperatures of 4 different reactions are measured. Which reaction is the least exothermic? The least exothermic. Least exothermic means it is going to release less energy. Less energy is released. Yes, good. Good, Zoya and Aya. D is the right answer here. Okay, you're going to look into the changes of the temperature changes from initial to final. If the final temperature, if you see that the final temperature is increasing from the initial one, this means that it is an exothermic reaction. Okay. So only options A and D, they are exothermic. B and C, they are endothermic reactions because the final temperature is actually decreasing, right? Now you're going to take out the temperature change between these. So this is 6 degrees degree Celsius of change in temperature. And how much is this? This is only 4 degrees Celsius change in temperature. So obviously 4 degrees Celsius is less energy. This means only less energy is released, right? The change in temperature is only 4 degrees, which means D is going to be your correct answer. Which equation represents an endothermic reaction? So here you have to look into um, your endothermic reactions. Endothermic reactions tend to involve or require energy. More energy is required to break the bonds. Then you can also see here that this is an oxidation reaction. So oxidation reactions tend to be exo. Again, a new substance, when a metal is dissolved in water, it releases heat energy and its own hydroxide and hydrogen gas. This is again exothermic reaction. Then hydrogen, two hydrogen gaseous atoms, they have combined together to form a molecule. not energy is the energy is not required to form this molecule, right? So this is again not an endothermic reaction. Only this one is the endothermic reaction here, which you see is that the molecule is being converted into an atom. When you have a molecule, right? You have a molecule of chlorine. This forms a bond, a covalent, a single covalent bond. Now you want to break this bond apart to form two chlorine atoms in their gaseous state. Okay. So this is going to require energy to convert gaseous molecule into gaseous atoms. All right. So A is requiring energy, right? Energy is required to break apart or to overcome the bond enthalpy, which means A is going to be the correct answer in this case scenario. The next question is, what is the energy change for this reaction? The reaction is given to you: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, oxygen double bond, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, oxygen. Yes, all of the bond energies are given to you. And if you see that this reaction says that methane burns in oxygen, this means this is an oxidation reaction or a combustion reaction forming carbon dioxide and water. This is going to be an exothermic reaction, which means you should be eliminating option choices C and D. Now you need to find out the value. Delta H is equals to in minus out. Energy which is given in minus energy which is given out or which is released. So 4 carbon hydrogen bonds, these are 4. So 4 times 410 plus you have oxygen, oxygen double bond, and these are 2 moles. So this means 2 times 2 of these, 2 times 496, 4 times 410. We're going to sum this up. This is energy which is given in. Energy which is given out is carbon, oxygen double bond. So 2 of these. One molecule has 2 of these bonds. And this is going to be total 4. 4 times 460. 4 of oxygen hydrogen bonds. This is the energy which is given out. Zoya, for which one are you saying the question 13? No, I explained question 13. No? We said that when a solid metal is added to water, it is an exothermic reaction. It is going to release heat energy and it forms hydrogen and its own metal hydroxide. So D cannot be the right answer. Okay. Thermal decomposition reactions, other than this, they are endothermic reactions. Exothermic reactions, exothermic reactions typically are combustion reactions, oxidation reactions. Okay, these are your typical exothermic reactions. Thermal decomposition reactions, they are endothermic. They require heat energy to thermally decompose the substance. Yes, has everyone calculated the answer for 14? What is the delta H value? A. Yes, A is the right answer. Minus 818. So I told you that how you have to eliminate option choices C and D. Since this is an isothermic reaction, this is oxidation combustion reaction. Okay. So A here is going to be your answer choice. You simply have to, if you write down a displayed formula, it will be much easier for you to solve this one. Okay. Is everyone getting the same answer? Yes.
Just one question.
Hmm.
In CO2, CO are double bonds, right?
Yeah, carbon oxygen double bonds.
Okay.
Okay, the next question is hydrochloric acid is added. to excess calcium carbonate in two separate experiments. Two different concentrations of HCl they were used, but the temperature is still the same for both. The graph of the results shows the volume of carbon dioxide gas which is given off. Which row is correct? Particles in 2 moles per decimeter cube compared to 1 moles per decimeter cube. Their collision, the particles having collision rate in 2 moles per decimeter cube at greater concentration will have a greater collision rate or a lower collision rate. A higher collision rate or a lower collision rate will there be at higher concentration? Higher. And what about the collision energy? Is the collision energy going to change? Is it going to be higher or is there going to be no change? No change. Very good. Why is there no change? Because the temperature is still the same. Okay. So at a higher concentration, there are more molecules, more particles having the same energy, having the same collision energy, but their rate of collision is now higher. Why? Because of greater number of molecules within the same volume. Okay, the volume still stay the same. It is 1 decimeter cube, 1 decimeter cube, but now the amount of moles is it has changed. Okay, which means more particles. More particles will have greater frequent collisions. All right, look into the next question. You have decomposition of dinitrogen tetroxide to N2O4, and this is decomposing to form nitrogen dioxide in a reversible reaction. The forward reaction is endothermic. Okay, so we mentioned endo here. This obviously means that the backward reaction is exothermic, which shows the effect on the position of the equilibrium and the rate of the reverse reaction when the temperature is increased. When the temperature is increased, what do you think? What happens to the rate? Rate is going to increase or is it going to decrease if the temperature is increased? Increase, okay? Which means that your answer choices will either be B or D. You have to eliminate answer choices A and C. Increasing the temperature will definitely increase the rate of reaction, be it any reaction, the reverse reaction or forward reaction or backward reaction, okay? Now we have to look into the position of the equilibrium. Increasing the temperature actually favors endo, okay? It favors endothermic processes. It favors endothermic reaction. So which is the endothermic reaction? It is the forward reaction is endothermic, right? If the forward reaction is endothermic, this means that it should favor your forward reaction, as a result of which more and more product yield should have been formed, which shows the effect on the position of the equilibrium and the rate of the reverse reaction when the temperature is increased. So your correct answer should be Zoya, you were saying D for this one. Yes, so D is going to be the right answer. Okay. The shifting of the equilibrium is towards the right, hence increasing your product yield, which is nitrogen dioxide. Okay. Why is that? Because it is favoring the endothermic reaction. Okay. Anybody has any questions by far? Is this point clear? Yes, D is right. Good, Basu. Any questions regarding chemical equilibria up till now? No questions? Everybody's getting the same answer? If they say that the temperature is decreasing, then we are going to go with option A. Okay. Then moving on to the next one. In a blast furnace, iron 3 oxide is converted into iron. It is reduced. Carbon monoxide is converted into carbon dioxide. What happens to each of these reactants? So both they are oxidized, both are reduced. No. If one is getting reduced, the other one is getting oxidized. Okay. So carbon monoxide undergoes oxidation. This undergoes reduction. So iron 3 oxide is getting reduced and carbon monoxide is getting oxidized. So D is the right answer choice. Which row describes what happens to, and how you can say that? You can also say this iron here is +3. Its oxidation state basically changes from +3 to 0. In atom, the oxidation state is 0. What about carbon? Carbon here is +2, and here carbon in carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, it is +4. So the oxidation state is increasing. When the oxidation state is increasing, it means that oxidation reaction has taken place. Which row describes what happens to iron ions when they are oxidized? So when they are oxidized, the oxidation number of iron, is it going to decrease or increase? And what happens to the electron movement? If they're oxidized, the electrons must be lost. Now tell me what happens to the oxidation number. Yes, very good. The oxidation number is going to increase as a result. All right. So you're going to go with option D. Also, if you look into this, when they're going to lose their electrons, obviously the oxidation number is going to change. From Fe2 plus ions, they're going to change to Fe3 plus ions. So D is the right answer first. Let's look into the next question. The next one says you have, in which reaction does an acid react with a base? So dilute sulfuric acid is added to magnesium ribbon producing, no, but acid must react with a base, right? So A cannot be the right answer. This is not a base. Acid reacting with barium chloride producing barium sulfate. No. Aqueous sodium hydroxide reacts with copper 2 sulfate producing copper 2 hydroxide. Again, this is also not correct. Aqueous sodium hydroxide is added to ammonium sulfate. Ammonium sulfate is going to act as an acid here, and sodium hydroxide is going to act as a base. Hence producing your weakly alkaline gas, which is ammonia. So D should be the right answer choice here. Okay, D is going to be your right answer choice here. Ammonium is losing, this is ammonium ion, it is converting into NH3 and hydrogens. Okay, this hydrogen then reacts with the hydroxide to produce water. So if this is a base, since it is a proton acceptor, it is accepting this hydrogen ion. According to Bronsted-Lowry acid and base, the ammonium salt acts as an acid. Why? Because it is donating its proton. So anything which is a proton donor behaves or acts as an acid. So which is why D is the right answer choice here. Okay. So ammonium sulfate is going to behave as you tell me, copper hydroxide is produced, which is a precipitate. Sodium is being displaced, or you can say that sodium is going to displace copper from its aqueous ions and to form sodium sulfate, and copper 2 hydroxide is produced as a result. The remaining ions, they are going to produce the precipitate, which is copper 2 hydroxide. So there's no, according to the Bronsted-Lowry acid and base, which one is donating its protons and which one is accepting the protons. You have to look your answer choices in this way, Zoya. Okay. So D here is going to be your correct answer so far. Are we all clear? Do we have any questions? Is a displacement reaction not a neutralization reaction? Yes, you can say so. You can say so. That an insoluble precipitate is basically formed. This reaction is going to be a precipitation reaction specifically. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Which element forms an oxide that reacts with an aqueous solution of a base? So which element you have to look into is going to form an oxide which will react with an aqueous solution of a base. Now, any bases obviously must react with acids. So you have to pick those metals or those elements which are going to form an acidic oxide. Which elements form acidic oxide? Only non-metals form acidic oxides. Only non-metals form acidic oxides. So which ones out of these they are non-metals? Only option B, sulfur. Okay, argon obviously is unreactive. Magnesium and copper, they are metals, so they will form basic oxides, and basic oxides never react with bases. So only sulfur is the right answer choice. Okay. Any questions up till now? Yes, B is the right answer. Good. Moving on to the next one. Which method is used to produce insoluble salts? So insoluble salts, they are prepared by precipitation method using two aqueous solutions. So C. Okay, the next one says noble gases, they are in group 8 of the periodic table. Some properties of first 4 noble gases are shown to you. Which row identifies the trends in this group as it is descended? As you are descending this group, what happens to the densities? What happens to the densities? They are increasing. What happens to the boiling point? The boiling point is again increasing. Okay. So B here is going to be your right answer. You have to look into the trend in the boiling point and the density. From minus 267, so minus 267, you are going to minus 152. This means on this negative scale, you're basically going in an increasing trend, in an increasing way. The boiling point is actually increasing. Some properties of element R, they are shown to you. In which part of the periodic table is R found? It burns to give a white solid. If it is not forming a colored solid, which means it cannot be a transition element, then they are saying that its melting point is 98, boiling point is 883, and reaction with cold water is that it gives off hydrogen gas. So which one gives off hydrogen gas? Obviously group 1, group 2 method. So group 2 is not the answer choice here, so you're going to go with option A. All right. And melting points and boiling points are also not too high. Moving on to the next one. Which pair of compounds shows the transition elements? They have variable oxidation states. Which pair of compounds have variable oxidation states? Here, the oxidation state is +3. Again, here it is +3. Copper is also having +2 in both. If you find out their oxidation states for all, only the transition elements you have to look into. Here it is +2, and here it is +3, iron 3 hydroxide. Okay, look into this. Fe2O3. So obviously this is +3. C is the right answer here. Okay. Is everyone getting the same answer for question number 24? Is everyone getting the same answer? Yes, if you find out D, or if you find out D, it's again +2 here. and nickel is again +2 here. So both of them, they have the same oxidation states. Variable oxidation states are only +3 and +2, which is an option C. So C is the right answer. Moving on to the next one, the list gives the order of some metals and hydrogen in the metal reactivity series, which row shows the properties of metal X. So metal X is the one which is below hydrogen. Oxide will be reduced by carbon, yes or no? Yes, its oxide will be reduced by carbon. It is basically present below hydrogen. So its oxide can be reduced by carbon. You will either go with options B or D in this one. Then the next one says it reacts with dilute acids. No, it is not going to react with dilute acids. Why? Because it is present below hydrogen in the reactivity series. Copper alone does not react with the dilute acids to produce any salt. Okay, so B is the right answer here. The next question is, when zinc is added to an aqueous solution of which contains magnesium ions, there is no reaction. Which species has the greatest tendency to lose electrons? The one which is more reactive, that is going to lose electrons. This has already lost electrons. This has already lost electrons. Okay. So magnesium is the one which has greatest tendency to lose electrons. So A should be the right answer. Okay. Is everyone with me? Question number 26. Is everything clear by far? Okay, moving on to the next one. Which gas in the air is needed for iron to rust? Oxygen. Okay, very straightforward questions. So most of the questions that you see, they are very straightforward, which is why the whole paper is only for 45 minutes. Which coating prevents iron from rusting even when coating is damaged? Zinc. Okay, zinc. This is your galvanizing, the process of galvanizing. Why is limestone added to blast furnace? Why is limestone added to blast furnace? Limestone, which is added to blast furnace, is basically going to react with the impurities to form the slag. Okay, so B should be the right answer. Okay, look into question number 30. What occurs at stages J and K? And J, after sedimentation has already taken place. After sedimentation has already taken place, filtration takes place, okay, first. And lastly, you have chlorination before it is sent to for commercial purposes, for any other purposes, okay, for drinking water and everything else. So before drinking water comes chlorination, and before chlorination has to be filtration of all the impurities, all the gravels, all any other sand residues or any other thing which has settled down within this sedimentation tank. Okay, so you have to filter it out. Then the next question is, carbon dioxide acts as a greenhouse gas by interacting with a particular type of energy that radiates from the Earth's surface into the atmosphere. Which type of energy is involved, and what happens when this energy interacts with carbon dioxide molecules? So what energy is involved if this greenhouse gas is interacting with a particular type of energy which is radiated from the Earth's surface? So that is thermal energy. Okay, thermal energy it is. So carbon dioxide molecules increase the Earth's energy loss to space? No. They are going to absorb that heat energy. That thermal energy is absorbed by the carbon dioxide molecules, which is why the global surface temperature tends to increase. Okay. The next question is, oxides of nitrogen, they are formed in the petrol engines of car. They are removed from exhaust gases by reactions in the car catalytic converters. How oxides of nitrogen, they are formed in a petrol engine and a reaction that happens in the catalytic converter. So if you remember, if you recall the reaction is basically nitrogen monoxide reacting with carbon monoxide to form carbon dioxide and nitrogen, which is relatively harmless. And the oxides of nitrogen are formed by the reaction between nitrogen compounds in the petrol and oxygen from the air, or is it because of the nitrogen and oxygen from the air reacting with each other? So nitrogen and oxygen basically react from the air with each other, as a result of which they are going to produce their own oxides. Okay, so A here is the right answer. There is one more natural way of formation of nitrogen oxides. What is that? Can someone tell me? how nitrogen oxides, monoxides, and nitrogen dioxides can be formed naturally by the process of lightning. Okay, nitrogen has a triple covalent bond, and triple covalent bonds, they are very strong bonds. Okay, much energy is required to break them apart. So to break them apart, you need to require, or you need to add in lots and lots of energy to break the nitrogen molecule to form nitrogen atoms, and then those atoms, they are then going to react with oxygen to form their own oxides. So lightning is a natural process by which this process can also take place. The next question says, which diagram shows the discrete formula for the named organic compound? So it's the named organic compound and the correct formula you have to look into. I think by now, just by looking in one go, we can see that C is the right answer, right? Methane is one carbon, ethene is C2H4, hydrogens are not correct. Ethanoic acid must have C double OH, one extra oxygen is placed here, which is completely incorrect. Okay, next I think we're going to inshallah do from 34 till the end. We're going to do in the next class. So inshallah, tomorrow please mention your attendance before leaving. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz, miss.
Allah Hafiz.